Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman, and today I'm going to be doing a psychic reading on Todd Chrisley and his family. This has been a reading that many of you have asked for me to do, and I had held back on it because I was kind of mixed. I don't want to, I really don't care for the Chrisleys, and I'm just being honest, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just am not one. I've seen their show before, and I just find it like very scripted, very inauthentic. It's just not my cup of tea, so I really didn't want to comment on this, but I am going to do the reading for you guys and keep it, as honest as I can, what I see from spirit and whatnot. When I get into, for those of you, first of all, that don't know, he is married to Julie. The girl on the left of him is his daughter, Savannah, and then that's his wife in orange, Julie, and then Chase is his son, and then this is Lindsay. And Lindsay, I believe, is no longer on the show, or she hasn't been on there at least as much as... like I said, I don't follow the show. I did see him on Tyler Henry, read for him on that show for him and Julie. So, he's been on that. The one thing that I went to his Instagram and I looked at his comments when all of these scandals were being reported, and I had a lot of you rays of light come to me for a reading, to have a reading done on him. You asked about him. And I saw, that he turned to God and a lot of this scriptures, and, he's put a lot, he's kind of defended the family name as the patriarch of the family. So here I'm going to be giving you, what I see about this. They have been accused of tax evasion, him and Julie, among other criminal charges. He took to social media, like I said, and he defended themselves, basically blaming an ex-employee who fabricated the story, supposedly. That's according to him. And that person went to the attorney general and brought up all kinds of charges on him, etc. And so that's what they now are facing. They were indicted with charges, supposedly, and now they could possibly be, facing charges for fraud and tax evasion along with other financial crimes. But he apparently says that this is all done by his ex-employee who is a disgruntled employee, etc. And it's funny that prior to this, I've looked at some of his posts. I don't see every post having God mentioned, but I do see that, and in this most recent posts on his Instagram, that he has quoted scriptures and praises to God. And it's kind of funny, when people that are religious, they never really mention God in any part of their life, but when it comes down to an illness or something that is going on in their life, that is like when their life is at a crossroads, that's when they, start quoting Bible scriptures and blah, blah, blah. And to me, that's fake. To me, that's not faith. That's not Christianity. That is an opportunist, in some ways. That's a way of kind of deflecting what is going on actually, in his life right now, and trying to do damage control on his image and the image of the Chrisleys. But when I get into his soul, I feel like, Todd Chrisley as a businessman is kind of ruthless, and I feel like he is not what he appears to be when it comes to the show. The show is for ratings. The show is always going to have show a side. What really kind of ticked me off was his most recent post. He said, he said something along the lines of not listening to false prophets, etc. So I don't know who he's referring to, but it's not, that's not very Christian-like to talk like that, using a Bible scripture and, attacking people, in an effort to defend yourself, if you're feeling like that. So I think the elephant in the room, I'm just going to let it out. People want to know if he's guilty, and I'm not going to beat around the bush throughout the whole reading and wait until the end. I'm not one to say, but I'm not judging him or his family, but what spirit has to say. And what I see is that, yeah, there's a lot of deception, a lot of things that they have done financially that are crooked, but this is where white collar, like blue collar, white collar, whatever you want to call it, white supremacy and white privilege, he's a very powerful man. He has a lot of connections Hollywood connections, a lot of powerful people, and money can buy things. Money can buy their way out of the case, because he had said that initially these charges had been put on him and then they were dismissed, and now they're back on him, you know. But I don't feel like this time it's going to be so easy. But I also do get that, you know, there's a lot of people that can be bought. There's a lot. You have to understand, this is, like I said, white supremacy. I'm not trying to turn it into a race game, but it is what it is. You know, if this was a group of black family and this was a black man, you know, they would automatically be put in prison and, you know, given the maximum amount of sentences. But people that are rich and that are wealthy and have connections, they can easily get out of it. And when you're white, it's even easier. And I'm sorry if all of you out there, my Caucasian viewers, my rays of light, this is not meant towards you or to try to, you know, put an attack, but, you know, I myself am part white, so I have to state the obvious, and this is something I'm not going to sugarcoat or dance around. I feel like this is exactly what is happening. You know, they have done some things financially. This is not his first go round having any kind of financial problems. You know, he did go bankrupt and lose all of that. And again, he blamed that on poor decisions and blah, 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 never taking accountability. And I feel like that's who Todd Chrisley is. He really doesn't take accountability when it comes to things. And it's like, you know, to a certain point, you have to fess up. You have to take accountability. So, you know, I feel like this whole case is going to open people's eyes, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of obscurity. There's a possibility that he does get out of this, you know, with minimal, maybe like a fine. I don't know at this point, but I do see like there is going to be some, this won't be like, you know, where it's just like a pat on your back and you're dismissed. I feel like there is some substance here, and there is validity to what has been said, regardless if it's been said by an ex-employee or not. I feel like there definitely is some validity to this, and he will be facing some type of penalty, whether this is, you know, paying a fine over time, etc. But it's going to be interesting if he doesn't. That's what I see. Spirit feels like he's going to get just maybe, you know, out of it. Like he'll get out of it, just like I had saw for Epstein. But we'll have to see, because it's very, like I said, people can be bought, people can be threatened, and a man in power like Todd Chrisley has connections. You know, these are high prolific people in the industry that, you know, he knows a lot of celebs and stuff. As far as the show, he said that he's come out and said that it's not canceled. People have been speculating whether or not it's been canceled, but I am seeing that there's a possibility that, depending on how this goes, that they are going to definitely cancel the Chrisley show. I also get in his marriage, like this marriage is not going to last. They're not going to last together, Julie and him. I definitely am seeing and picking up that in his family environment, in his home environment, there's a lot of toxicity. I feel like Savannah and Chase honestly can't stand each other, and I know that they're brothers and sisters, and Todd, you know, says on the show blah 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 that he wants his family to always be together, communication. But I feel like all the kids can see things that people can't really see, or that people can see, but, you know, they really try to hide it. I feel like Savannah really sees things. She takes more after her father and will defend him. But Chase, I feel like, is not necessarily going to defend him 100%. And Lindsay, I feel like she's really disconnected from them. She doesn't like the toxicity that it brings. And Julie, I feel like, is just the pacifist. You know, she's the one that will just do anything that her husband says. But they are tired, and there's a lot of skeletons in his closet. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything and that this is all fact. This is just, you know, my opinion from Spirit, what's coming from Spirit, etc. But, you know, due to the nature of the readings that I do, I can't go into full details or disclosure. I will say one thing, and that is about his sexuality. And I know that he portrays to be a straight man, but I don't see that. You know, I'm not saying whether he's secretly in the closet or he's bisexual, but I definitely don't see him as definitely just a straight man. This is, again, not just the energy that he gives out, you know, or the metrosexual type of person that he is. I know that term has been been loosely used in the past. But again, sexual wise, there's a lot of infidelity, and I feel like Julie kind of has had enough of it, and I feel like part of her illness and part of her things is the stress that she's been going through. Now, I'm not saying that she is an angel by any means, but I definitely feel like she definitely sees a lot of things and has called him out on a lot of his behavior and how he treats people. I also feel like, they could possibly be a little, I hate to say this, but racist, because if you look at their show, they, but I really don't want to say that, because it's kind of conflicting how it comes in when I get into his energy. But I do feel like there is a certain level of racism. But he has a granddaughter, or there is Zoe, I think, is the granddaughter, and she is part black. So, but I feel like, and he has had her on the show, but I think that's kind of like to deflect the rumors or what people speculate or really know to be true. There's a lot of empaths that watch this show and that may be listening to this reading will probably feel the same way that I do about this and how Spirit is delivering the messages. But I really feel like there is a certain level of racism, and it's not uncommon. I mean, they're in Tennessee, I believe, or Georgia, wherever they're located. I think it was Tennessee. There's a lot of racism in there, in that state. And again, I just see this. I see this family very dysfunctional, and it's never going to have unity. And I feel like it's not going to get better, if anything. They have their moments, for the show and the sake of the show, where things, seem to be like going great. But I really feel like and I see that there's just turmoil everywhere. Like the rumors and stuff that the children are going after each other, I don't feel like that's rumors. I feel like it's true. And even on the show, like Savannah and Chase are always bickering, etc. But behind the scenes and in real life, I don't feel like they're close together, and they do talk about one another to friends. And so there's a lot of like Chase, especially, I feel like he has major issues and has felt a lot of pressure and I feel like his father, Todd, has kind of wanted him to emulate in his footsteps, and be like him. And Chase is trying to find his own path, etc. But Chase also has his own financial issues right now. I read that. I do believe that there is certainty in that as well, because I feel like, again, these two children, not Lindsay, I'll get to her in a minute, but Chase and Savannah have lived a very privileged life, and a life that they really haven't worked hard. I know that he tried to portray them as hard workers, going to the job, but blah, blah, blah. But when you grow up as a rich kid, in a wealthy family or semi, middle class wealthy family, they really don't know the struggles. They really don't understand. There's a disconnection, and so with them, I feel like they really are going to struggle in life, if they would have to take on regular jobs and not have all the money that he has hiding, that he has, because he's loaded in money, regardless if he's filed for bankruptcy and whatnot. There's investments and things, people can have bank accounts, Swiss bank accounts, and money's wired and stuff like that. And I think that's what the government, is going to look into, and the system is going to look into all of that. But I do see that this is not going to have a favorable outcome in the unity of the family. When it comes to Lindsay, I feel like she's the only level-headed one. She doesn't like Todd. I really don't feel like she likes Todd, and she tolerates Julie, but she really feels like the kids have been brainwashed to be just like Todd. When the kids, I mean, like Savannah and Chase. But Lindsay, I feel like she's the only one that's living her authenticity, and really is kind of trying to be her own voice, and kind of not wanting to bank on the success of Todd and Julie in all of this. And like I said, with Julie, I feel like she struggles with all of this, and eventually she is going to leave this behind, because I feel like with Todd, he's, like I said, I don't feel like he's genuinely a very nice person. He has a lot of preconceived notions about people, that if they don't fit in a certain category, if they are, a certain color of skin, or they don't fit in a certain category, like the way that they dress, or if they don't have a certain amount of money, he's not going to fully accept these people. And that's where we come into someone that's living on a very low vibration, someone that's not authentic, someone that is really just toxic in many ways. And I feel like he's in denial. He doesn't take accountability in his life. He doesn't really accept that he has issues that he needs to work on. These are deep rooted psychological issues. I feel like there's a lot of phobias that he has against being poor, against having to ask people for help. And it's just sad, that he is living in a very materialistic type of world. I feel like if he didn't have this and he had to go back to work in a regular job, he wouldn't be able to survive. But the skeletons are going to come out from what Spirit is saying. A lot of the things are going to be uncovered. So the headlines, are going to keep rolling. A lot of people know dirt about him and who he really is as an individual. And like I said, I don't feel like I don't see from a Spirit's perspective that he is a very nice person. Even though he can hide behind the religion and he can hide behind scriptures, you can only do that for so long, and people start seeing through the facade. And I'm just keeping it real. It is what it is. And I see again him trying to wiggle his way out of this. And this will not be his only legal scandal. I see that there's other people that are going to come forward, possibly accusing him of some type of harassment. So again, there's going to be more women coming forward and people in general. But deep down, I feel like he has, struggled with his sexuality. And I won't go any further and say, what I see here, but I think a lot of you can put the puzzle pieces together. I am seeing, no fulfillment for him. This is not going to necessarily bring him fulfillment, even if he gets away with it. And I see that, he's going to be very lonely. Is this creating a rift? His inability to be authentic, and if he did some crime or he did cover it up, come out and plead, guilty. I feel like that would have been way better than pleading non-guilty, but I can understand his concerns, of what's going on here. There is somebody that's very powerful, again, that's going to help him. This is a male, someone that can buy people, has a lot of money, could be a friend that's also in real estate, has a lot of businesses. He is someone that is an entrepreneur, and I see him kind of helping him. But again, at the end of all of this, when all is said and done, within 5 years or less, he's going to be walking away very lonely. And I feel alone. I feel like Julie is only holding on for so long because they do have a smaller son as well. I can't remember his name off the bat. But this is, it's a shame that he has a lot of these, that he portrays one thing on the show online, but he's entirely different on the outside world, in the real world. And I feel like that's what a lot of people can see. And, there's a lot of people that are supporting him that believe that he's innocent, but I don't believe that. I don't see him as innocent. If I did, I would say it, I would say that he's innocent. I'm not saying that he's guilty of all the crimes that he's being accused of, but there is definitely some guilt. And there has been some kind of, some kind of avoiding when it comes to finances and stuff. But like I said, this is white collar. This is, this is what you see with white privilege, and it is what it is. So, I wish the Chrisleys the best, but I also feel like, this is in some ways, this is karmic justice for a lot of the people that maybe he has, treated horribly in some kind of way, or that he has lied to. And a lot of people, I don't expect people that would be listening to this that are Chrisley fans, or that know them, to necessarily agree with me. And don't come for me, because you will be blocked in the comments. I'm just giving you the tea from Spirit, what I get. It doesn't mean that it's all necessarily accurate, because like I said, free will can change things, and maybe how I'm interpreting something can be different. But for the most part, I keep it real all the time in every single reading, and that's what I'm seeing. So, like I said, I wish the Chrisley family, the best. I hope that the kids can heal through all of this, because I know that it has to be very devastating. And for Julie, and Todd, I hope that they can stay together. But we will see, everything that I have said from Spirit. We shall see how it all plays out. So, blessings and love and light, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have an amazing day or night wherever you are in the world.